Are you craving a trip on Space Mountain? Well, we've got the next best thing. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePaoli.
And I'm PatrickzFilms.
And today we're going to go on a little adventure with one of my favorite Disney branches, shall we say. And that is Disney Theatricals. I love Disney Theatricals. I love theatricals in general. And put Disney before it, and that makes me extra happy. Ding! So we're kind of just going to... They've had quite a bit of history at this point.
Yeah.
And so we're going to... There's a ton of shows. There's no way we can comment on all of them. But we're going to go through the list and kind of talk about the ones that we've experienced and especially enjoyed. And let's just start kind of at the top. I mean, First of all, one of the cool things about it is Tom Schumacher's the president of it. And I don't know if you know this, you probably do. But Tom Schumacher actually came into the company, I believe, back in like the early first Disney Renaissance. So he was working on like Beauty and the Beast and all that stuff because he had a theater background. And because that was like kind of like the dawn of the Disney musical. Yeah. Even though it was on the big screen, it was still very, very, very theatrical.
Yep.
And then he was later transferred to Disney Theatricals, which he now runs. And so I just think that that's cool and awesome and nicely ended up in the perfect place.
Yeah, a good transition.
Nice transition. Perfect. And the thing that kind of started Disney on Broadway, or not kind of, but did, was Beauty and the Beast. And you've seen productions of it.
Yes, I have.
I have as well. I actually saw it on Broadway, although that wasn't the first time I saw it. I saw the national tour in DC first. I actually remember being so impressed by that show, that the sets especially, that I remember like going back to my hotel room and drawing the sets because I was really, really, I thought that mansion was beautiful. Like I just loved it. It blew my mind. I love Beauty and the Beast. And one of the interesting facts about this was, about this show going to Broadway, was the fact that the theater people didn't have faith in it at all.
No.
They're like, Disney does not belong on Broadway.
Especially with the fact of a story where half the cast is inanimate objects.
Yes. And I have to say, they did, one of the biggest challenges is exactly that. The fact that, in the film, we've got objects that are a few inches tall. And it's like, how are you going to do that on stage? Okay, you can suspend your disbelief and have them human size and think to yourself, no, they're tiny. But they so brilliantly wrote it in a way that you didn't have to do that as the viewer, because as they describe it, these people are slowly changing into these objects. So even throughout the show, like Cogsworth will get an extra like winding trinket on his back, and like little things are added here and there. And if you really paid attention to the show, it happened throughout.
Yeah. And
it was just a genius way of dealing with it. And of course, the spell was broken before they ever got to tiny size. And I loved the fact that they explained it instead of just being like, just pretend, just imagine.
Just use your imagination.
Yeah. And so, the theater community was like, well, Disney does theme park shows. This isn't going to belong there. And to be fair, I do think that Beauty and the Beast is one of their more theme parky Broadway shows. It's still big costumes and such, although I love it. And it is one of my favorites. It's really, really good. I just loved kind of a tradition they started with Beauty and the Beast, was taking the background score of the films and adding lyrics to it. If I Can't Love Her, you know that song, of course. Such a good song. And if you really recognize the music from the background of the film, it's kind of cool. And it kind of, I mean, as a often theater goer, I don't know, how do you go to the theater a lot? Do you prefer to know the music before you go, or learn it as you're there?
I'm not too particular either way. Normally, if I do go see a new show, I will listen to the music beforehand. So, no, normally I'm like not surprised by what I hear.
Okay. I feel like most people like to not be surprised, which is why I think jukebox musicals are very popular these days, is people like to recognize what they're hearing. And so I think that whole taking the background score and adding lyrics is doing that in a way that you don't necessarily even recognize.
Yeah.
And even for the longest time, this is not exactly Broadway, but Disney's Aladdin musical spectacular at California Adventure, that song Lucky Bird that was added is background score from Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize that for a long time until I was listening to the soundtrack, and then I was like, oh my god, that's totally Lucky Bird.
Yep.
So, Beauty and the Beast, totally one of my faves. If I Can't Love Her, spectacular. What's like your favorite added song?
If I Can't Love Her.
Yeah, really good. Ends Act 1, I believe, right? I think so. Yes. Is
it?
Yeah.
Is it the right after it's intermission?
Yeah, right after If I Can't Love Her. Curtain down, intermission.
I can see that.
So good. You did see that.
I mean, I do love the Be Our Guest number.
Yeah, it's so funny because as a kid, even with the movies, like those big production numbers were always my favorites. Like Be Our Guest and Under the Sea. Now they're so not at all.
One reason why it is confetti.
Lots of confetti, and pyrotechnics.
Yeah, so confetti pyrotechnics is kind of awesome.
Yeah, production value, good stuff. But it's such a great show, and I think a great way to start there. I mean, frankly, like imagine if it had flopped.
Yeah,
that could have been the end of Disney on Broadway.
And not like you said before, not a lot of people had faith in it.
No, and it won. It was nominated for a couple Tonys. It ran for a long time. In fact, a huge part of the reason why it left, and I'm sad to say this, was because they needed the theater to do Little Mermaid. Which is sad and unfortunate, but we'll get to Little Mermaid eventually. I do want to mention a show that you may not, well, you might be slightly familiar with it because they performed a couple songs from it at the D23 Expo.
Aida?
King David.
Oh,
do you remember
no
this?
idea.
Okay, you don't remember it from
Nope.
Okay. King David, it was just a concert that they did. It was it might have been one night, maybe a few. And it's Alan Menken music. It's some of the best Alan Menken music ever written. You can find the entire score on YouTube.
I'll challenge
it.
That.
Really is.
I'll challenge that.
What's the name of the song that I love? Never Again, I think it's called. But you can find the entire soundtrack on YouTube if you search for King David OTS, original theatrical score, I think it is. And you can find the whole thing on there and listen to it. It's at least worth a listen. I would love to see a production of it, but never have. It was unfortunate that it never went any further. It's really, really good. And then after that, Little show.
Is it called Lion King?
The Lion King.
Never heard of it.
This was the game changer for Disney Theatricals.
Oh, yeah.
It's still running.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. They opened in 1997. So we're coming up on
20 years?
Oh my goodness, that's a long time.
20
years in just a couple years. That's scary. It was my first Broadway show ever. I'd seen a lot of touring shows in Boston, but first show on Broadway, The Lion King.
How was it?
Fantastic. Actually, it was one of those shows that, like, tears in the opening number, which is pretty rare for an opening number to emotionally move you that much. But it was breathtaking.
And again, like, another huge undertaking, the fact of this, like, Beauty and the Beast, yes, human elements, they had to do the inanimate objects, entirely, completely animals throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
So the challenge of doing that plus creating the whole scope of it is insane.
I will be the first to admit, when I heard that The Lion King was going to Broadway, I was like, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I was like, there's no way that this can be done. And it was really the show that was like, we are so not a theme park show. Yeah. We are here to create beautiful art. And that's what they do with The Lion King. And God, there's so many productions. There's so many tours. There's productions all over the world of that show. And it's fantastic. And it's still playing on Broadway. That's nuts.
How many times have you seen it?
Probably like 5 or 6. It's definitely not the show I've seen like the most ever, but it's a show I've seen numerous times. It's one of those things I kind of, with theater, sometimes I'll see a show and kind of never want to see it again, just because that impression was so brilliant the first time around that I just don't want to taint that. And of course I did see it again, but I don't think anything's ever lived up to the first time. It was great. How many times have you seen it?
3.
Okay. All the same tour, and you went multiple times while it was in town, or like years
3
separating?
different times.
Cool. Then after The Lion King, there was a show called Aida. Are you familiar with Aida?
I am.
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. Aida was one of those things. This was weird. This was like the first time that Disney Theatricals was doing a show. Oh, I guess King David as well, but that didn't really have a run. But Aida was like, okay, this isn't based on a Disney movie. Yeah. From what I hear, it was one of those things Elton John really wanted to do a musical version because there's an opera of Aida, and he wanted to do a musical version. And his deal was like, I'll come back and do Lion King if you let me do this Aida thing. That's what I've heard. I don't know how true that is, but it makes sense as to why that would have happened. And it did pretty well. What did it run? It ran from 2000 to 2004, so it's a good run. And it had many, many tours. Do you have a favorite song from that?
Ooh,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Ooh,
the duet. I don't know.
Elaborate Lives. We all lead such elaborate lives.
No.
There's a lot of duets.
I don't know the names. I just know the songs.
Okay.
Shows you how familiar I am with the soundtrack. But yeah.
There's a lot of like very Elton John stuff in it. Like The Strongest Suit is like a kind of a drag queenish fashion show, even though it's all women doing it. But it's a good show. It's definitely not one I'd be like, you have to go see Aida, but it's good enough. I saw a tour of it in Boston. I was like, eh. And then I worked a regional production of it for like a month and had a really great experience. So that's kind of when I fell in love with the show. But it's a good one. And then after Aida, there was Tarzan, 2006, 2007. Didn't do so well.
Not in the long run.
And I never saw it. This is one I really, really would like to see. I've never seen any production of it, not even a regional or anything.
I've seen a bootleg.
She didn't say that.
It's up there. It's up there.
It's up there. Whatever.
I didn't film it.
Exactly. I love the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack of the Tarzan musical, and I tell that to a lot of people who have seen it, and they're like, "Yeah, the soundtrack's really good. It's better than the show was." And I'm like, "Really? That's so disappointing to hear because I love the soundtrack so much."
I do think, besides Lion King, it does have one of the best openings. Because they do that like aerial view where kind of like in Hairspray you have Tracy on the bed, but it's like the beach and you have Tarzan's parents walking down, but it looks like they're walking out from the water on the beach.
So it looks like you've got a bird's eye view from the audience.
And it's really cool.
So a lot
really cool opening.
A lot of rope work and flying effects and stuff I hear from Tarzan. So I'm sad it never got a longer run. I do want to see a production, but I'm very particular about like where I will go see a production because it will be my first experience seeing it on stage and hearing it's not that great. I really don't want to see a not great show in a not great production. Yeah. So I want to check that out someday. Mary Poppins, that had a nice long run, 2006 to 2013. This is the show that booted The Lion King out of its home. It booted it out of its theater. And as we said, Lion King's still playing, so it just moved to a different house on Broadway. But Mary Poppins originated in London and then came to America. And I think this is one of maybe there's a couple others, but this was like a co-production. Okay. Because Cameron Mackintosh, who if you're a theater person, is like a theater genius producer, produced shows like Phantom of the Opera, Cats, Les Miserables. Those are his. He has the rights to Mary Poppins. Okay. So Disney had to make a deal with him in order to do this production. And they came to an agreement. So it's a Disney Mackintosh production. And have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay. I did. I saw it on Broadway. And it's a good show. It's one of those things. I'm going to make enemies here, and I apologize for this. I am not a huge fan of the movie.
Yeah,
I'm not. And I gave it so many chances. I must say that. I think Mary Poppins is a movie that you have to have grown up seeing for the nostalgia factor. Did you grow? I didn't see it till I was like an adult.
Oh, no, I watched it growing up.
Okay, I did not. So I don't get the nostalgia thing from it. Of course, I know the music. I've known it my whole life. And I do love the music.
Yeah.
Great Sherman Brothers score. But I don't know. The film never rocked my world, no matter how badly I wanted it to. And after Saving Mr. Banks came out, I had an opportunity to see it at Grauman's Chinese with Dick Sherman in the audience and Dick Van Dyke in the audience and like some original cast members as well. And I was just like, okay, I'm giving it this chance. If I don't love it, I never am going to see this again because I just don't love it. I didn't love it, folks. I'm sorry. I apologize. I know this will upset some of you, but I will say I enjoyed the theatrical production. Didn't love it, but I enjoyed it.
I had a chance to see the tour, and it didn't pique my interest.
Oh, okay. Like it came through town.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, it came and went, and I was like, oh, it's gone. Oh, well.
Okay, so when you say you had a chance, it wasn't like somebody was like, here, free ticket.
No,
You're like,
no.
thank you. You're just, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I still don't, like, if it comes through, I'll see it, but I'm still like, I'm not dying to see it.
One of the things I will say about it that I love is oftentimes when a show has flying effects, it ends up doing what I call Kathy Rigby syndrome, which is they overuse it. I don't know if you've ever seen Kathy Rigby in a flying show like Peter Pan or Seussical. They overdo it. It's just, I am a huge fan of leave the audience wanting more, always. And in Mary Poppins, they do that. There's very few moments where like Mary flies. And the final one is the end of the show where she just does this beautiful slow rise from the stage up over the audience, up to the balcony and like disappears into the wing, like the heavens of the theater. And it's really emotional. Like the scoring at that moment is beautiful, loud. And because it's like a slow rise, the rigging isn't like crazy.
Yeah.
And the lighting is dark at the moment, so it's actually a great flying effect. Usually when you see flying in theater for like Peter Pan or whatever, you just have to suspend your disbelief, and people are willing to in theater, which is fine. But it was a really nice effect, and it was kind of like, ooh, this is giving me chills. Ooh. So that was cool. That's Mary Poppins. Let's see. Then The Unfortunate Little Mermaid, which many of you know is my favorite Disney animated film.
You always bash this musical. I actually like it.
You've seen a bootleg?
Yes.
Okay. I have as well. I actually saw a production at a very well-known, well-respected regional theater last year. I just don't love it.
I think they could have... I don't like the fact how they adapted the mermaid part with like wheelies or something.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. I do love the soundtrack, and I do like the new songs, and I didn't like love it, but I wasn't mad about it. I didn't hate it, and I actually liked the cast too.
Okay. My biggest problem is the casting of the original Broadway show, and I'm not going to get into details, but I did not like the casting.
I liked it.
And that was its biggest flaw, I think.
Great casting.
And some of the new music is spectacular. Love some of the her voice. Oh my goodness, is that the name of the song? Her voice that Prince Eric sings. That's a beautiful song, beautiful ballad for a man. And I don't know. It was disappointing. It was really disappointing to me, and I would love to see them try again.
I liked it.
You didn't even see it.
I saw it.
Okay. If it had traveled through town, would you have seen it? Actually,
yeah.
If it traveled through town, I would even go see
Yeah.
it because it's a Disney musical. You got to see it.
I'd rather see that over Mary Poppins, to be honest.
Yeah. Ugh.
I liked it.
Do you like it?
I liked it.
You like it? Cool. So that was Little Mermaid. That ran from 2008 to 2009. And like I said, it was a bummer that bumped Beauty and the Beast out of the theater because I'm like, for a 1-year run to bump out a show that ran for like 13 years plus or whatever it was is a bit disappointing. But the good news is that after Mermaid came a little show that I am quite obsessed with. It's actually in my top 3 theatrical musicals of all time. And it's the only one in that list, actually. The only Disney one in that list. And that is Newsies. I love it. No. Don't even. Don't even. Newsies is spectacular. Of course, long story short, I'll give a very short version of this. Newsies, we all know the movie. Huge flop, 1992, Christian Bale. Disney basically was like, this movie did not do well. Let's forget about it. Fansies are intense, to say the least. Fansies demand a DVD release. It happens in 2002. Fansies demand a theatrical version of it. Happens in 2012. But
Nah, I don't think they were giving into fansies. From what I know is they had this movie. It didn't do well, but they still wanted to bring it out there, and they wanted high schools to do this.
Yes.
And so the only reason to give rights of high schools to do it is to put out a production.
Yes.
So they made the production, and it went way better than they ever expected it to go.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say. And so, so when they do this, they like to put on, they like to produce the first version of it and then make the rights available. So they did that at the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey. And like you said, it was, it was huge. The tickets sold like crazy. And they decided, okay, we're going to go to Broadway for a limited run. It was going to be 12 weeks. It went to Broadway. The fansies are crazy, and it stayed on for a couple of years, which is spectacular. And I think one of the reasons it really did so well monetarily is because the intention was not to be an open-ended run on Broadway. So therefore, production value was kept low, and it's and because of that, it could make its money back. And now, it's on tour and everything, and it's going all over the country, and it's not ending anytime soon.
And there's also that limited edition factor. When you put a show on Broadway, you're like, it's only going to last for so long. Yeah. People are going to buy it up. Yeah. So just say everything's a limited number,
limited run.
And people will buy it all up.
Yeah, so it's a spectacular show if you get the chance to see it. I think the irony of this is now that it's on tour and been on Broadway and stuff, is it's not available for high school students yet. So now because it's so successful, you're gonna have to wait to do your own regional theater production or high school production. But Newsies is fantastic. The new music is fantastic. Alan Menken's a god, and
But we all knew that.
Yeah, we all knew that anyway. Let's see. This is, I guess, around the same time, Peter and the Starcatcher, which was a play, which I did see.
I have not.
I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it.
I heard good things.
It was one of those things, I was traveling to New York to see Newsies, and a friend got me a gift of tickets to see Peter and the Starcatcher, and I was like, sure, what the heck? I'll never turn down free tickets to any theater. Even if it's terrible, you'll learn some fabulous things from it. And I loved Peter and the Starcatcher. First half, now it's not a musical, it's a play with music. It's got few little chanties in it, but it took a little while to get used to, at least for me, because it's very, very minimalist. Okay. And they use everyday objects to create props and such. And so it's unique and interesting. It took me, I'd say, a good 30 minutes to get into. But once I got into it, I was like, oh, teary-eyed, it's so beautiful. And it's kind of like the Peter Pan origin story. Based on the book, Peter and the Starcatchers. And then on Broadway, they dropped the S. And it became a chapter of that book. Or maybe it's a book series and it became one of the books. I can't remember which. But it was very good. It ran, I think, a year. It was less than a year even, I think. It was 2012 to 2013. But most plays don't last very long on Broadway. And it won a few Tonys, I think. So, yeah. And now we have a little show on Broadway. Aladdin! Prince Ali, fabulous. Yeah, so that's running and doing well. And it's has no end in sight. And that is the show currently in the
Mary Poppins Theater.
In the Mary Poppins Theater, exactly. So
Mary Poppins got the boot for Aladdin.
And Mary Poppins did not move to a new theater. Mary Poppins closed.
Yep.
And but that had a nice long run. And there's still a bunch of stuff in the works. Let's see. We got Jungle Book, which is being adapted into a stage musical. We've got Frozen. We all know about the Hunchback and Notre Dame production, which had a couple of runs and was really, really, really good. And then the Muppets, actually, there's rumors of the Muppets heading to Broadway, which would be amazing. That, I feel like that would have to be a limited run, maybe? And at least if you're using, the real Muppeteers, it would be a limited run. And that I would kill to see. I've been saying they should do that forever, so I'm excited about that. Alice in Wonderland in the works. Father of the Bride. Freaky Friday. The Princess Bride. It's all kind of happening, and not necessarily all musicals. Also, in London, Disney did a production of Shakespeare in Love, which I'd be interested in seeing. I love that movie, so that would be cool. And Disney Theatricals does more than just Broadway type of shows. They did High School Musical on stage. Yep. High School Musical 2 on stage. Camp Rock. On the Record. Are you familiar with On the Record?
Yes.
On the Record was made as a touring show. And did you see it?
No.
Okay. It's kind of like a honestly, this is the kind of most theme parky show that I've seen Disney Theatricals do. It's very much like one of those reviews you would see in the theme park. And the premise was there were like 6 performers, maybe. I'm not sure about that number, but there are some performers in a recording studio, and they're basically just doing like different versions and medleys of classic Disney tunes. And it's a fun little show. Doesn't belong on Broadway. It belonged on the road, and I think it did okay on the road. And as I mentioned, Shakespeare in Love. So that's Disney Theatricals for you. Let me tell you, if you have not experienced a Disney Theatrical show, you should. Because if you love the Disney movies, oh my God, it's so great. And a lot of these shows, you don't even necessarily have to spend the big bucks to see it on Broadway. There's a lot of community theaters and regional theaters doing these shows, and they're just great shows. So, anything else you want to add about Disney Theatricals before we head to trivia?
I don't know. Are you wanting to see Aladdin?
Do I want to see Aladdin? Okay. Yes, because it's a Disney Theatrical show. To me, from what I've seen, I have not been wowed. I'll put it to you this way. Before it opened, I really wanted to see it. Once it opened and I started seeing footage from it, I was less interested in it. I would like to see some casts move on before I see it. And it doesn't look too different from what we have at Disney California Adventure.
Cool.
Would you like to see it?
I wouldn't make a trip out there specifically for it.
I will say, if I was going to Broadway for something else, I would see Aladdin.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Jonathan Freeman in it.
Yes.
The voice and actor.
I do want to see the original cast.
Well, you got a while longer, so.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so Aladdin. And from what I hear, their carpet doesn't fly over the audience. I think it only flies over the stage. That's a little surprising, Disney. Gotta say, a little surprising.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. So we got trivia?
Yes.
Hit me.
So we were just speaking of Aladdin.
Yes.
In this new show, there's no Abu.
Just like Disney California Adventure?
Yeah, but there are 3 side characters.
Ooh, okay.
Do you know the name of the 3 friends, Aladdin's best friends?
No, but there are 3 male characters who are his best friends.
And there's the name of the song specifically titled their 3 names.
But it's a new song to the Broadway show?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not super familiar with the music. Proud of Your Boy.
No.
No? Oh, darn it. I will say that's probably the most exciting thing about the Aladdin on Broadway is the fact that Proud of Your Boy, which was cut from the film, was added back in. Fantastic song. Jacob, John, and Smith.
No. Babkak, Omar, Kasim. And the song is called Babkak, Omar, Aladdin, Kasim.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just going to say the same 3 names again where you're like the name of the song is. How's the song go?
Babkak, Aladdin, or something like that.
You made that up.
Babkak, Omar, Aladdin, Kasim.
Kasim. Babkak. That's a hard word to sing. Okay, well...
No Abu, but I got 3 new friends.
Okay, well, this is the little Disney Theatricals history here with kind of a bunch of little questions thrown in here and there. First of all...
this is the one trivia only question round.
Well, then I'm just going to give you a lot of information.
Okay.
There is one theater on Broadway that Disney owns. They often, in fact, since Beauty and the Beast, I don't think it's ever been only one show. Beauty and the Beast was one show, and then once Lion King came... It's been 2 or more since, I believe. But there's one theater that Disney owns. Do you know which theater it is, the name of it, what's in it, whatever? What's in it?
It's right now Aladdin.
Aladdin, yes. Name of it?
Walt Disney Theater.
No, it's the New Amsterdam Theater.
Ah, yes.
And it's on 42nd Street. And it opened in 1903 with the play Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare. So yeah, the Ziegfeld Follies were a huge part of the theater. And then actually there was a premiere. So Disney bought it, fixed it up. It was part of like the whole cleaning up of 42nd Street. And one of your favorite Disney movies premiered there. It has premiered before like The Lion King and all that. Lion King was like the first full-on musical that they did there. But do you know what movie?
Not my favorite.
No, your favorite.
Hercules?
Yeah.
Oh.
November 1997.
You just said before Lion King.
Yeah, it was, so November 1997, Hercules premiered there. And yet, well, Lion King was 97 as well. Maybe, from what I was reading, it was Hercules premiered and then Lion King opened, which was 1997 as well. But I don't know if it was end of 97 that it opened. I'm not sure. But But in any case, Hercules had its premiere there, and then they had a King David concert, like we were speaking about earlier, and then The Lion King. And of course, the rest is history. And that's quite a busy theater these days.
Yeah.
It's been full since 97, running nonstop. So it's pretty awesome. Anywho, guys, Disney Theatricals is awesome. Check it out if you ever get the chance. And I think that's going to do it for this week.
I think so.
Okay, connect with us at DisneyCoastToCoast.com on Twitter and
Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and SoundCloud.
Is your
and
neck
iTunes?
Is your neck hurting?
Yeah, I'm practicing for. I'm about to go on.
Oh, you're
I'm about to go on.
He's vocalizing. Cool, folks. That's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Is all about the Hatbox Ghost. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know about the Hatbox Ghost, Pat, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
It was an animatronic that was first placed into the Haunted Mansion since Haunted Mansion opened. However, it never worked, and it was only there for about a week